I was on X the other day and I saw that Elon Musk posted a video of the Tesla Optimus humanoid robots doing like practicing kung fu. And it was pretty interesting about like what they're planned to be used for. I know that different places have plans to use the humanoid robots for manufacturing, for all types of various tasks, maybe working in restaurants, so many different things. And then also the other day we reviewed a company. I think was it called Figure? It might have been called Figure. We'll double check that. But they also make humanoid robots and they had an $11 billion valuation. And then I came across this article on TechCrunch that said that a famed roboticist, we're going to be taking a look at who that is, but he said that humanoid robots bubble is doomed to burst. So while we see that Tesla's making a big investment in these humanoid robots, and that another company they have their valuation really large, but we have this famous roboticist who's saying the opposite, saying that there's no chance in hell that the humanoid robots are going to last. So I want to review that today on this episode of the Bug Bite. So welcome to the episode of the Bug Bite, hosted by your Shri Tech Trough, where we are engineered to win. So let's take a look at what exactly is going on. I'm going to switch over to the article. And there you have it. So this article is brought to us by TechCrunch. Let me make this little. All right. So it's brought to us by TechCrunch. And it says that the famed roboticist says humanoid robots bubble is doomed. It is doomed to burst. Written by Connie Lopez on September 26, 2025. So let's get started. It says, renowned roboticist Rodney Brooks has a wake-up call for investors funneling billions into humanoid robot startups. You're wasting your money. So, and like I said, let me just double check. Is it Figure AI? Is it Figure AI? Yeah, Figure AI. That's the one that we reviewed the other day. They have their own humanoid robots. And look at that, doing manufacturing, cooking breakfast or dinner, working on the assembly line. Let's see, watering a plant. So many different things that these humanoid robots are being trained to do. But the what is this? This is in the kitchen. They're doing it very slowly. I don't know if anyone would have the patience to bear with that. But look at that, pouring lemonade would bring, let's say, it's honestly it's kind of like the Jetsons. Remember the Jetsons? They had that robot made. But let's go back. So I'm very curious to know, why does this renowned roboticist Rodney Brooks believe that investors are wasting their money by pushing money into companies like, let's say, it's I don't really know how investment works. If you can invest in a particular portion of a company, let's say for Tesla you want to invest in the Optimus robots development to push that further, or if they're investing in a company like Figure AI, who is they're specifically building these humanoid robots, right? So let's find out some more. It says Brooks, who co-founded iRobot and spent decades at MIT, is particularly skeptical of companies like Tesla and the high-profile AI robotics company Figure, the two that I just referred to, right? Figure trying to teach robots dexterity by showing them videos of humans doing tasks. In a new essay, he calls this approach pure fantasy thinking. So now my question is it fantasy thinking if is it fantasy thinking if we actually see those robots doing these things? Is it a waste though? Let's find out. It says the problem: human hands are incredibly sophisticated, packed with about 17,000 specialized touch receptors that no robot comes close to matching. While machine learning transformed speech recognition and image processing, those breakthroughs were built on decades of existing technology for capturing the right data. We don't have such a tradition for touch data, Brooks points out, which is fair. And like, let's see this. How many bones in the human hand, right? Just in the hand alone. So in the human hand consists of 27 bones. These bones are distributed across carpal bones, wrist 8, metacarpal bones, palm 5, phalanx, fingers 14, three in each except the thumb, which has two. All right, so that's almost left out from getting that extra bone, I guess. But the reason I checked this, right, um, is the the human hand. It's an incredibly powerful part of the human body. Like, believe it or not, we like everything that we do. We reach for it with our hands. We like if we're falling, we put our hand down, and that's how a lot of people end up breaking their hands or their arms is because they'll try to base their fall on their hand. I've seen in jiu-jitsu competitions where somebody's being taken down and they post on their hand and they get taken down so hard that they break their entire arm, which is it's scary stuff, right? So the human hand, it's one of the most important parts that we have that and it is very obvious. It's not like and I don't mean like the importance of like the heart if your heart stops and you're not alive anymore, right? But the human hand, we use the hands and the feet to do so many different things. So I understand the point about the 17,000 specialized touch receptors that no robot comes close to matching. But my question to this argument of that the robotics, the humanoid robots are doomed is that do we actually need these humanoid robots to do every single thing that a human can do? Do we actually need the 17,000 specialized touch receptors that no robot's going to come close to matching? Or do we need it to have enough of these touch receptors to take care of particular tasks? See, the question is, and just reading so far, it's like the mentality is replacement rather than collaboration. So so far that's the difference that I see. All right, let's see. So Brooks then says, then there's a safety. Full-size walking humanoid robots pump massive amounts of energy into staying upright. When they fall, they're dangerous. Physics mean a robot's twice the size of today's model would pack 8 times the harmful energy. So that was a question that I did have though. When when watching the video of the Tesla robot doing kung fu, maybe I'll show a very very small snippet because last time I showed a Tesla video, they didn't really like that. So maybe I'll show a very very maybe a 30-second snippet of the Optimus robot doing jujitsu or doing kung fu, right? But my question was, let's say you train the robot to do jujitsu. What if it gets you in a chokehold and it's so strong that it chokes you out? That would be pretty scary, right? But also thinking about the fall, like I guess my next question is how heavy are these robots? So let's see. How heavy is a Tesla Optimus? Um Tesla Optimus can dead so it's not about deadlifting. I want to know how heavy it is. How heavy is a Tesla Optimus Prime or Tesla Optimus robot? 57. That's not too heavy, actually. The latest publicly stated weight for Tesla Optimus robot Gen 3 is 57 kg, 125 pounds. And with a plan for mass production in 2025 and 2026. Generation 1 was about 160 pounds. Generation 2 was reduced to 104 pounds. But Generation 3, plan, which is not out yet, is at 57 pounds. So, I mean, now 57 pounds of dead weight falling on you, that is very, very heavy. But imagine with the obesity rate in the United States of 200 pounds of someone passing out and fainting on you. I think I'd probably rather have, I mean, I don't know, because someone who's really, really heavy, obese, and they're falling on you, they might have a lot of cushion if they fall over you. But the Tesla robot or the figure robot, it's probably, well, maybe it's part plastic. I don't know. Maybe they have it plastic to get it down to that weight. Who knows, right? But let's see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. Do you think that the danger of the robots falling over, twice the size of today's models would pack? Why would you have twice the size of today's model though? Like if let's say today's model for the let's say the Gen 3 for the Tesla Optimus is 125 pounds, 57 kg. Do you see a Tesla robot being twice the height and like 250 to 300 pounds? I don't know. All right. It says Brooks predicts, Brooks, so says physics means a robot twice the size of today's model would pack 8 times the harmful energy. So, I mean, the question is it going to be twice the size of today's model? So, I don't know. It says Books predicts that in 15 years, successful humanoid robots will actually have wheels, multiple arms, and specialized sensors and abandon the human form. Well, I mean, all right, now little old me is gonna say if we're going to have wheels and multiple arms and specialized sensors, then you're not actually a quote unquote humanoid robot at that point. You're just a robot made in its own image, right? Not in our image, but in their own image. Like however, and I don't actually see a problem with having a robot that looks like that because depending on what the need or the tool or like what is the purpose that you're building it for. So if you need a robot that is going to be doing things that needs wheels and multiple arms, needs to move faster and stuff like that, specialized sensors, then I'm like, go for it. But if you want a human form robot to perform tasks and help with different chores, then So I don't know. It says meanwhile, he is thoroughly convinced that today's billions of are funding expensive training experiments that will never scale to mass production. Like for me, like I said, it depends on what you need it for. Depending on the price of these robots and depending on what people like, can these robots go from taking things from one point to another point? It does it reduce safety hazards inside of different companies, maybe manufacturing plants? Who knows, right? So I think it just depends. If it's a basic task that you're training them to do, where you are cutting costs and increasing safety measures, I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's not going to work. This famed roboticist has way more experience than me, but I'm just not sure. Like I see a variety of use cases for this type of stuff because it's far from the first time that Brooks has poured cold water on expectations set by brash entrepreneurs and eager investors. Last year, he talked at length with TechCrunch about why the promise of generative AI exceeds its abilities and can even create more work in some cases. I do think that so here's the deal, right? It is the job of CEOs to sell their company, their product. It's not their job to reel people back into humanity, or not humanity, but into reality, right? So they're going to say AI is going to do this. It's going to take all the, how many times I've heard from investors and from CEOs and stuff like that. AI is going to take all the jobs. And then we hear on the opposite side from like researchers, scientists, AI, we hear that AI is super dangerous and it's going to be the end of the world as we know it. But we also hear that AI is not going to take all the jobs. It's going to assist and stuff like that. AI is not powerful. We need to go totally away from AI. It's going to fail. So it's a battle of selling the dream and versus how this thing is never going to work. It's going to be terrible. And to me, I think it ends up being in the middle because I've used AI for so many different things that has helped me tremendously, and I don't think I'm even at 1% of what it can do, right? But I also don't see it taking over everything because I see how companies are pushing their employees to use it and to integrate it. Now, the big companies who are see, and I think the companies who are getting rid of people due to quote unquote AI, they were probably over bloated. They probably hired too much in the first place, and and that is their excuse to scale back to normal levels. And now they can say, you know what, we can still the amount of bloat that we had from people who aren't actually working, we can probably compensate for that by getting some additional work done with AI, but we are going to normal levels of what we can actually do because there's only so much software you can put out, you know? So it says, for example, the AI research nonprofit METR, I don't know if it's Meter, said this summer it has recruited 16 highly rated developers from large open source repositories to measure the impacts of AI tools on real world software development. It then assigned them nearly 250 real issues to address with the tools and without them, I measured their screens. When the developers used the AI tools, they took 19% longer to complete their task. As interestingly, they perceived that the AI had sped them up by 20%. So so measuring their screens, they took 19% longer to complete their task. However, they perceived that AI sped them up by 20%. I don't so that mean that okay, so for this experiment to work, right? That would mean that they would need to have done the same exact tasks with AI and without AI, but do you have any context? I don't know. This experiment feels a little bit strange on how you could do the same task with and without, and taking longer to do the task with AI. But I would feel like you already have context on what you're working on. So I would be curious to know which one came first. Did they do the AI work first, or did they do it on their own first? I don't know. I really don't know. Brooks has long argued that AI is not the existential threat that many, including Elon Musk, has posited that it is. I don't believe it is either. I agree with that. I don't think it's the existential threat that many people are saying that it is. TechCrunch talked with Brooks about this back in 2017 at MIT, when the landscape looked very different, but not entirely dissimilar to today's playing field. I mean, 2017 is 8 years ago, and so many things have changed. Like, I don't even think ChatGPT was released to the public until like 2021, and that was like very, very limited. And now everyone has access to it, and people are even naming their ChatGPT, right? Because after the time, Brooks said he was just starting to see more companies specializing in making data sets for machine learning, a trend that has only continued. Relatedly, he argued why it wasn't necessarily a foregone conclusion that big tech companies would win in robotics, despite what long ago seemed an insurmountable lead in the amount of data they control. Yet, today's leading robotics companies have not escaped those companies' gravitational pull. This one says, Abtronic, a humanoid robot maker, has raised nearly 450 million from investors, counts Google among its backers, and partnered with Google's DeepMind robotics team late last year to bring together best-in-class artificial intelligence with cutting-edge hardware and embodied intelligence. Figure, which we reviewed the other day, similarly is backed in part by Microsoft and OpenAI startup fund, and partnered with OpenAI in February 2024 to combine OpenAI's research with its own deep understanding of robotics hardware and software. The two split up almost exactly a year later, this past March, with Figure AI saying it had enjoyed a major breakthrough in its own in-house end-to-end AI for robotics. I'm telling you, these companies ain't loyal. These companies ain't loyal. Because earlier this month, Figure announced it had received over $1 billion committed capital in its latest funding round, and said the deal valued the company at an astonishing $39 billion. Yes, $39 billion. Right. So there you have it. There you have it. Let's go back to full screen. I am curious to know, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think that AI is going to, or that robotics is over as we know it? Do you agree with this famed robotics roboticist Rodney Brooks? Do you think he is all doom and gloom? Do you think that AI is going to take over everything, or do you think it's somewhere in the middle where we're going to have a healthy balance of our tooling? I'll tell you this though. I will tell you this. I think that, from what I'm noticing, I think that people become overly reliant and overly dependent on anything that you give them. They become addicted to it. So it is fair to say that maybe it's not that AI can take over everything. I think that we're going to give AI everything, because honestly, we're kind of lazy, you know, and I think that the more that like people are using these tools for everything, it's not like for research or for understanding. Um, I think that the way that we just overly rely, we see people using AI to be their therapist, to be their dad, to be their mom, and having these weird conversations. And that is how we will easily go down that rabbit hole of where AI will take over everything, because we're going to give it the ability to, not because it's going to take it, we're going to give it over, right? But those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts as well. Drop me a comment on the video. Let's keep the conversation going, and we will circle back and go from there, right? But thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful weekend. It is Friday. Let's finish the week off strong, all right? Let's finish the week off strong. Take a draw. We are out.
But it's still the same. Words like bandages that don't stop the pain. I held your words like glass in my hands, sharp truths and smooth demands. You said you meant the cracks I see, but promises break so easily. I trusted the stars, but they all fell down. Every promise made just spins around. The truth feels fake, the lies too real. I'm caught in the loop, I can't unfeel.
I reach, but it slips away. Truths turn shadows in the light of day.
I don't know what to believe anymore. Every fix just opens another door. Confidence feels like a hollow sound. I look for answers, but they can't be found. You paint the sky with a perfect hue, a shade of trust that fades to blue. I step forward, fall right through. Your mirror's cracked and so are you.
Tell me, what's the game? Truth and lies, they sound the same. Every time I think I've won, I'm back where I begun.
I built my faith like a house of sand, each grain slipping through my open hand. Your confidence is a polished mask, hiding the answers I forgot to ask. I don't know what to believe anymore. Every fix just opens another door. Confidence feels like a hollow sound. I look for answers, but they can't be found. Is it me who's blind or you who lies? Is it hope or hurt that keeps me tied? I'm a thread unraveling in the storm, trying